What's up? Me? Oh, okay. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you guys coming by very much. I do have the round 7 game between Fabiano Caruana and Wesley So, taken from the Paris Rapid and Blitz, and it is a decisive game. So I'm gonna spoil that before we go further. It's a decisive game, so it's not a draw. So I'm happy about that. Yes. Yes, for all my people in the Philippines, mabuhay to you guys. Kamusta na? Maraming salamat po sa nanonood ng aking mga video. Masaya akong makita kayong muli. I'm Masao Tayo at 7:38 a.m. So I'm sure probably a lot of you guys have eaten your breakfast already, getting up, seeing what's going on in the chess world. And Fabiano Caruana is from the United States, so that's English, so we just keep it rolling. And I do have those good mornings at the end of the video, so hang with me. But if you guys are ready to go, maybe, yes, okay, cool. Then I'm ready to go. Let's go ahead and take a look, see what we got for the game. So we got e4. Let me line my volume up. I didn't hit that up. Bam. We got e5. Knight comes to f3. Knight to c6. Bishop to b5. Knight to f6. Now, I know what you're thinking. I said at the beginning of the video, this is a decisive game. This is not a draw. But yes, the Berlins are normally very drawn. And they were the very, very solid weapon that Vladimir Kramnik used against Garry Kasparov in the World Championship match. And it is a tough egg to crack. But keeping it pushing, we see castles by white. Knight takes e4, rook to e1. As I always say, of course, you're not going to be losing a pawn because you do have issues with your king being in the center. So you're going to be getting that pawn back. So after we see knight to d6, we see knight takes e5. We got bishop to e7, bishop down to f1. Knight takes e5, rook takes e5. And as you guys can see, everything is fairly even. So we got castles by black. We see d4. It's going to be the most logical move in the position. You're just trying to make sure that your bishops, are all the way functional. We see bishop down to f6, getting a nice little tempo on the rook in the middle of the board. We got rook down to e1. We see rook to e8. We got knight to c3. Rook takes e1. Queen takes e1. We see bishop takes d4. Now, it might look like here you are giving away a pawn, but you are actually doing okay in this position, even being down the pawn. Because your pieces are just going to be a little bit more active than black's pieces. As you guys can kind of see, I mean, you have this rook in the corner not doing much, this bishop. This knight is kind of blocking the whole action over here. So, you are behind just a little bit tempo-wise as black. So we see bishop to f4. We see knight back to e8, trying to get out of the way. We see knight to d5. So as you can see, white, has a lot of activity going on. So we see d6, bishop to g5. We got f6, bishop comes back to h4. We see g5, just attacking that bishop just one more time. We see queen to e4, throwing a little counter attack on, that bishop in the center of the board. We see bishop takes b2, and then we see rook to b1, and rook to b1 is the novelty of the game. Now, it's not the best placement for the rook, because yes, you are putting it on an open file, but I mean, there's not really anything to attack on this file. And so the two games that we saw in the past for this position was actually rook to e1. And so you just kind of putting an attack on the knight over here. You're trying to take advantage of the fact that black isn't developed as much. So it's just slightly better to put the rook on this file here. But we did see rook to b1. We got bishop back to e5, and we see f4. And f4 this is kind of where it gets a little bit dicey in the game for white. It is not completely unsound, but it's not the best way to go about the position. It is just kind of opening things up just a little bit too much, and black can defend against your threats. So pawn takes h4. We see pawn takes e5. Pawn takes e5. We see bishop to c4, which does kind of seem a little bit scary. You're thinking, okay, man, wait a minute. Like you're threatening some double checks here. You got the bishop lined up on my king, but pretty much all black would have to do is sidestep all of that after they block, of course. So the bishop does come to e6 and they block. So as you guys can see, white is down some material. They're down quite a bit of pawns. So they do have 3 less pawns, and they're not up a piece. So usually when you're like down 3 pawns, you're usually up a piece, But no. So as you guys can see, you know, black is doing a lot better material wise. And like I said, rook takes on b7, so they get a pawn back. But like I said before, the king does sidestep to h8. And now this king is on a much safer diagonal. You know, there's just light square bishops on the board, so you know the king is a lot happier on h8. So we do see bishop down to d3. You know, it doesn't amount to anything, but you know, anytime you can threaten checkmate, why not? You know, even if it doesn't amount to anything, it might buy you some time, or it might just give you a move, you know, whatever it might be. So we do see bishop coming back to g8. So, you know, we have perfect defense on this. We see knight takes c7. And then we don't see knight takes c7 in this position. So after, if you were to take with knight takes c7, you would see rook taking c7, queen taking c7, and then queen would be taking a8. And yes, you are down a lot of pawns still, but you have kind of caught back up in the game a little bit. It's still better for black, but you know, you've actually been able to, you know, kind of close the gap considerably. So after knight takes c7, we do see the very accurate knight to d6. And as you guys can see, this is putting a nice fork on the queen and the rook. Now we do have an attack on this rook over here, but we are up a little bit of material for black, so that does make a little bit of a difference. So the queen takes on h4. We see knight taking b7, knight taking a8, and we do see knight to c5. So as you guys can see, black is just playing like very, very accurately. They're not falling for like, you know, just being premature, because, you know, of course, if you're, you know, if you just get too happy and say, hey, I'm gonna grab me a knight, like you're gonna actually get checkmated. So, I mean, I think some of you guys saw that, like, yeah, wait a minute, I can grab the knight. Then you was like, wait a minute, no, I can't. So coming back, you know, we see the very accurate knight to c5, placing a counterattack on this bishop. And the main issue that white has in the position, it is even material wise, but the main issue that they have is their king's position. You know, their bishop isn't very happy on the square. You know, the knight has the ability to take. This king is actually much safer than this king is. And you do have a completely passed pawn for black. And it is very easy to actually stop this pawn on the black side. So it's a little bit better. So we do see bishop to f5. And then we see the super duper accurate e4. And e4 is going to become very relevant here in a second. We do see h3 by white, trying to, you know, make sure we create like a luft. You know, it's good that it's a dark square, because, you know, there's no dark square bishop. But unfortunately, we have a very, very nice combination that black has at their disposal in this position. So if you want to go ahead and stop the video and guess and see what this like crucial move is, go ahead and do so real quick. All right, cool. So I think that some of you guys, and this is myself when I first looked at the game, I was thinking, oh, okay, queen to d1 check. Like, it just kind of seems like, man, you just put the queen on the back rank and you're checking the king and you're doing something, right? Well, the thing that you need to notice about the particular position is the fact that this bishop is actually undefended. So there is actually a way to bring about a situation where you actually attack the bishop and just win it just straight out. And it does not start with queen to e1. You know, I think you still have a little bit of an advantage, you know, if you do go queen to d1. But you have made it a little bit harder for yourself, and you haven't taken the golden gift of the bishop. So Wesley So very accurately checks with queen to d4 first. And this sets up the combination that I'm talking about. After we see king to h1, we do see queen to a1. And it is actually in this position that white does resign the game. So Fabiano Caruana does resign the game because he sees what's coming up. You know, king to h2 is the only move for white in this position, and it's going to be followed up with queen to e5 with check. And as you guys can see, it places an attack on this undefended bishop. And so queen to g3 is what you're going to want to play. And then you're going to be snapping off that bishop. And so you are up an entire piece in this position. And you have a very, very threatening passed pawn. It's going to be scoring a touchdown. So that is the end of that game. If we back up after h3, if you did, like I said, go queen to d1, it's going to fizzle kind of because you're going to have king to h2. You're going to have to go back to queen to d6 because, as you guys were aware earlier, this bishop or this queen is attacking this square, and that's going to be checkmate. Because, you know, you have to maintain this bishop here because this queen and this bishop are attacking it, you know, threatening checkmate. So this is going to allow the queen to go back to g3. And, you know, you'd probably be placing your own counterattack on this knight over here with queen to d8. But you are really, really having to kind of stay, you know, kind of in tune with that pawn. And the good thing about the sequence that he actually went into is very accurate. When he does back up and he does capture this bishop, he is able to keep an eye on that square. And that's the most important thing that, you know, in the calculation of Wesley So, you know, was very, very accurate. So this was a really, really good game. You know, Fabiano Caruana, you know, top 3 in the world. Like, I think he's like ranked number 2 right now. So, I mean, that's a very nice win. So, I mean, you know, Wesley So, I feel like he was in the mix to be able to be, you know, like play for the world championship and stuff like that. So, you know, maybe we'll see Wesley So in the world championships at some point next year, the year after that, something like that. You know, I definitely don't think it's out of the cards. But to get to these languages, I got these good mornings. And I'm going to really try to see if I can get through all of them. And I'm going to see how I'm looking. All right, so, maayon buntag. Mayad na agahan, nainbag na bigat, masantos ya kabasan, marhe na aga, maayong aga, mapia na uma, kapian kapuno dios, mayap a abak, mayad na aga, mapia agay, mapia kapapita. This is where it gets tough. What is this one? I think it's my big abukla, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Maraja. Na buntag, Maria Mainat. It was, man, I really want to get this one. Maupe Naaga. Yes. And, man, I think it's Mangan Kanpan Kasanyangan C Lubi. All right, so I'm like almost there, dude. I got like literally like, I'm right there. Okay, so I'm going to get it like probably by the end of the day, or I'm going to get it by at least tomorrow, man. But you guys that saw me start at the very beginning doing that, you guys know I didn't have any of them, and now I have 19. And of course, assalamu alaikum and salam to anybody else. Merci for any other French speakers. I appreciate you guys very much for coming by, and I'll see y'all next time.